All right, so now we are recording, finally. All right, so everyone, this is pre-recorded, it's not live, and I know y'all want this to be live, but eventually it will be. So we have BeaterBusa.
What's up?
So I've been talking this guy to death for quite some time, and finally he agreed to get on for a little while and just discuss his platform, his plans, and some of his thought processes on some of the topics we're going to discuss. So, BeaterBusa, welcome, and tell whoever's watching like a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name's Brad. So if you don't know that, I mean, I've met a bunch of people in the scene already. So a lot of people actually know me. I'm prior military. I was Air Force for 8 years. Owned Busa since I was probably 25, 24, 25. I'm 39 now. I've never owned anything but high Busas.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep. So back in the day, roll racing wasn't a thing. In fact, me being, I guess am I an old timer now?
Yeah, I think so.
Does that make me an old timer?
I mean, all they did was like put a term, you know what I mean? Roll racing on what we did anyways, but it wasn't
like compared to like the generation that's out there now, and a lot of these guys are like in their early 20s. So are we old timers?
I guess. You see I got gray, so I guess.
I mean, I got gray, you know?
Yeah, I guess. Maybe we get too old.
Back in my 20s, which I wasn't 2021 with a bike because I was in the Air Force, but when I got out when I was 25, I bought my first Busa. My mom rode. My dad did not. My dad was not mechanically inclined. He was actually a politician. But my mom rode, but she rode cruisers. That wasn't my flavor. So, I got a Busa because that's what I wanted. I always thought that the Busa was like the pinnacle, and being that was 14 years ago now, something like that. Back then it was, there wasn't anything out that was really faster. So, I got my first one, and then Chris Moore didn't exist back then. So, and I live in upstate South Carolina, but, the whole drag scene was a big deal. Roll racing didn't exist yet. Anybody that claimed they roll raced, you made fun of. You called them rolls are for bakeries. We don't do that shit. We take the track.
Right.
So, 8th mile grudge racing was a huge thing. And it still is, but I mean, it was real hot back then. You catch people doing it on the street. You catch people going to the track. Man, I remember going to Union Dragway with a guy named Frank that used to own a shop in Greenville. And that's where I spent like a lot of my time. I mean, I had my bike. He went through it all. I was up there. I would literally stay with him and learn stuff. He dynoed it, explained things to me when he was dynoing it. Back then you had to put a power commander on it to dyno tune something. Mm-hmm. He showed me all kinds of tricks, like the R1 stuff that's on my bike, the wheels, the throttle. He showed me where to take weight out. We did a bunch of stuff, and I would race with those guys. And I mean, I got pretty good at it. And a lot of those guys that had some pretty heavily modified bikes, and in mine being not really a heavily modified bike. It was, it was a stock motor and stuff. But I competed right there with them. I mean, a lot of times it was a whole shot. Whoever took the whole shot won. And it was fun times, man. And then I kind of got out of it for a while and sold the bike. And then, I was just being an adult for a little while. And then I bought this one and wasn't really intending to race. But I kept coming across this whole roll thing, and apparently it was a big scene, and it was like all leader bikes. Like everything was leader bikes. And I was confused because, what happened to the Busa? Like I don't know.
No, don't start.
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
don't start that.
Nobody wanted them. Like I would be watching these people, and anytime a Busa or a 14 would come up in the conversation, it was, well, those things are heavy and they're outdated and they're just slow. And I was like, who are you?
Yeah. But
Don't,
but I mean,
don't you tell me that.
that's the truth. That's truth, though. Well,
When it's stock, yeah. I mean, in most of 99% of what you see, like if you're riding down the road, you go to a bike meet, you go to this, you go to that. Absolutely. They're mostly just bolt-on bikes. They still weigh over 500 pounds. So,
right.
that's the majority of what you see.
Right.
But I started kind of toying around with it some. Me and my buddies, I had already started a Facebook group down here, but it was for riding. It was just riding, and that was it. Because there was a lot of us down here that did ride, but we didn't really have a way to keep in touch with each other. And we live right by the mountains because I'm right by Clemson. So we would go up to the Dragon, all this stuff. Well, me and a couple of my buddies that also rode Busas, because there's like a big Busa group around here, and we started like kind of racing. We started like trying out this like 40 roll stuff and doing a quarter mile and a half mile and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, maybe there's something to this, like maybe there's something a little more to this. So I remembered, all those old tricks that Frank had taught me. And, I started doing a little bit of research, and I was like, well, I can't put a 12-inch arm on it. That's never going to hook. Because in the beginning, I tried it, and it just spun. And I was like, this ain't going to work. So then I shortened it up and started playing with the suspension, and then I just went in and started, cutting a bunch of weight out of it like I used to.
Right. Now, you do know there's some facts to that, right? Like, so the Busa, the 14 is heavy, it's slow. I think, I don't even know when it happened, bro, but there was a massive transition where 1000s just started like killing us. You know what I mean? And I don't even know what year that was.
I think that was when I did not own a bike, and I just kind of wasn't in the scene. So I didn't see that take place when the leader bikes kind of took over, so to speak. But I still think like a lot of that has to do with the fact that while they did refine them, they do make more power and all that now. They're also lighter. Stock for stock, then yeah, they're faster. But mod for mod, I'm always going to believe the Busa's king, just because it's been the pinnacle of racing. And everything forever. I mean, it was the drag king. It was the quarter mile, the 8th mile king. It's got the land speed records. I mean, so I look at it and I go, why can't a Busa do really well in roll racing? Because it does well in everything else.
Because, well, I think, let's see, when was it? Because like you had the ZX12, right? Like that competed with the Busa a little bit. I mean, you can go all the way back to
that's like late 90s going into early 2000s.
Right. So, I mean, you had the ZX12 that kind of competed a little bit.
Yeah.
And then obviously they came out with the first 14, which tried to compete, but
it was a little bit of a letdown, the first gen.
Right. And then they had the Gen 2 14 come out, which is wild because I remember having what was that? My second Busa. And that's what got me into like building Busas, because I remember racing a tiny guy. It wasn't something called roll racing. It was just, you get together, you ride it. Yeah, you sit beside each other, you go. And I remember like I was in my area back, where was I? Kansas. I was killing folk, man. Full bolt on, had a little arm on it, had spray on it. Like I was killing guys, And then I ran into a tiny, probably his name was Tennessee. Dude had to have been like 100 and no more than 150 pounds, man. All he did was take the canisters off his stock 14R, bro. Brett. So when people ask me why I hate 14s, bro, I think, what did we race? We raced 7 times. I remember it like yesterday. 4 times initially was roll. And then I got so angry, I said, fuck this shit. And we stopped in the middle of the street, and I made him go for a dig. Unprepped surface, everything. I had an arm, he didn't, so it made sense. And I got out on him, and what do you think happened?
He came right around you?
He came around me like I was standing still. And I said, you know what? Okay, That's it. You know what I mean? And I don't even know how much I spent, but that was in the days where the 1441 was like the shit, like it was this big thing.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
you remember that? Like that's the most you can go. That's the most reliable, especially on nitrous, all of this stuff. And so I went and got work done to that Busa. He never erased me. But that told me, when the 14R came out, I was like, man, like, okay, that bike is a force to be reckoned with in the streets. The other thing that happened too was the S1000. There was not until the S1000 came out, in my opinion, anyways.
I do remember the first gen S1000 coming out.
Bro,
that was a big deal.
Bro, when that bike came out, I had both. I had my Busa, which was modified, and then I had the S1000 with just simple bolt-ons. And bro, no. The S1000 not only made more horsepower, but obviously it weighed less and had, less modification done to it. So that I think was the turning point for like 1000s, because notice shortly thereafter, all the 1000s are coming out. Obviously WSBK, but
that makes sense. That makes sense.
You know what? Like, because they were the ones when the Beamer came out that year, it was like, oh
that
man,
makes sense. So
everything.
So when the Beamer came out, I still had my Busa, but it wasn't like a street Busa at that point. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really ride it on the street at all. And we did see them come to the track and race 8th Mile. But dude, we were destroying them. But we had these full setup drag bikes, and we were impressed with them, but we were just like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like we're at the drag strip. We're just, we're still dominating.
Right.
Our races were, Busas versus 14s, and then, all out built nitrous 1000, stuff like that. Right. Seeing an S1000 come to the track that was basically just a stockish bike. Some of them did have arms on them and stuff, but they just didn't do that good. But that was when they first came out. Now, obviously on the street, that was a different story. I actually had an encounter with an S1000 on the street, and I wasn't on my bike. I was in a car. Because not only did I have my Busa, I had an 03 Mitsubishi Evolution 8. Do you know what that is?
No, I have no idea what. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm not a car guy at all. You can say you had a Bugatti 2.397, and I won't know what the hell. But you tell me a bike, and I got you, bro.
Yeah. Well,
I got you.
This was a cool car. I had built it when I was in Germany before I came back to the States, and it's similar in terms to what you do with Busas. It had a stroker crank in it. It was bored. It was a big bore motor. It had a 61 millimeter turbo on it. It was, it made a lot of power. And this guy locally had an S1000, and for whatever reason, we ended up having like a back and forth. It wasn't like bad or heated. It was more of like, let's find out what would happen, because he didn't want to race the bike because the bike was too fast. And obviously, I was like, I'll get you, we'll go from a dig on the bike. He wanted to do a roll. Well, the Evolution's all-wheel drive. So still I wanted to go from a dig, but he wanted to do the roll. So I talked him into doing like a 10-mile-an-hour slow roll. Mm-hmm. And we raced up to 170 and was neck and neck, the car and the bike.
Oh,
which
yeah?
was pretty wild to do. That was ridiculous. And we did it through downtown Walhalla, which is like a small town here.
Yeah.
And we went right past the police station. God, we were stupid. But that was my first experience with an S1000. And I was blown away. I was like, damn, that thing's fast as shit. Because I knew what the car could do.
Man, I tell you, I had went and got one, and it took me some time because I kept wrecking S1000. I think to date I've had 7. I think wheeling and doing the dumb stuff in the streets, dragging knees in the streets, like I just totaled like 2 of them. But I think the third one, I want to say, I think I got into the motor, and ultimately I think it made 221 horsepower on MR12. And for that time, thin head gasket, the greed cams, a little bit of other stuff. And it was really good for its time.
Yeah.
Now it didn't have a swing arm; it was stock wheelbase, so it wheeled everywhere. I used to take it to the strip, and I used to roll race it, and it did extremely well against most, even at my size, you know.
Yeah.
But I think getting back to when the S1000 came out shortly thereafter, I think the other manufacturers they were like, oh, okay, kind of like back in the day with the gentleman's agreement at 186 miles per hour. Like, it was the same thing. Like, damn, look at this bike coming out with this much power. So now, shortly thereafter, you notice 1000s.
Crazy. I missed that because shortly thereafter, and that was a bone stock S1000 that had basically like a mountain rider canyon carver guy that rode it. The front tire was in the air the whole time we were going down through middle of Walhalla. Like it was a cool race, but regardless, right after that, I sold the bike and I got in a truck. I got a CDL and I started driving a truck cross country. I just kind of left all the bike stuff behind for a few years. Wasn't involved in it. Didn't hear nothing about it. So I completely missed where, the Gixxer 1000 got revamped. The ZX10 got revamped. I missed all that. So now that I've came back and I bought my bike and I started getting into it, I was like, when the hell did this happen? This is so confusing.
Man, so I guess to make a long story short, right? Because I was in the scene. So when I was in the States and not deployed, you could see like the evolution of the 1000 versus the bigger bikes. Now remember, Suzuki cheap, so Suzuki doesn't do much. No, but they're going to update their 1000s and 600s. Yeah. So I can recall like all the other manufacturers started catching up and modifying. Obviously, it's WSBK stuff, but still in the streets, and you can see that evolution to where the Busa, bro. It was like when I wasn't on my S1000. I remember I was racing like other 1000s, and it's like it was nothing. Brad, it was nothing, bro.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I come back and I buy a second gen, and I'm like, man, this shit's still unchanged. Like all this time from 2008, it's 2023 when I bought this one. It was early 2023, and I was like, it's still the same fucking bike. So like, I didn't buy a new one. Why would I buy a new one? I just go pick up a used one. You know what I'm saying? Because it's still the same bike.
Right.
So then they came out with a third gen, which the third gen's interesting. It's a very interesting bike. It's just, in my opinion, the third gen didn't quite live up to the legacy of what Hayabusa is.
I mean, I don't know. Well, okay.
Well, it's not dominant anymore.
So okay.
It's a much more daily rider comfortable bike now.
I don't think, and I'm a massive. I got a Busa Nation Facebook page, man. So like
I'm all about Busas, and I think the third gen's a great bike. I just don't think it quite lived up to the reputation of what Hayabusa was for all that time. Now, granted, Suzuki left it unchanged for God forever,
Right.
But when it came out, I just expected more than just a bunch of electronics.
Yeah, there was a bunch of rumors. It was supposed to come out with a turbo, but then it was supposed to be a stock 1441 and all this nonsense.
Yeah, you heard all these rumors, and then you got none of it.
It's funny because I had ended up I had put down like a what do you call that? Not a down payment. Kind of like my H2, where you order something, so you like pre-order kind of
like a reserve payment,
like a reserve type deal, and I ended up pulling it back. I had some type of inside scoop, not really, but it was kind of an inside scoop before the actual release, and I got my money back. But what I'll tell you is the Busa under normal circumstances is dated. You know what I mean? It sucks, and the Gen 3 is not making anything better. Like it's the ZX14 too. But just like the Gixxer, right? It's the aftermarket. The only problem is, I guess, when you look at like even our generation, but the younger generation coming into the game now, whether it be road racing or drag racing, why do I have to spend thousands of dollars to hang with, I don't know, a ZX10 or Gixxer or whatever. Like, why do I have to do that? You know, and that's essentially what you got to do. What I will say is, back in the day when we were doing a lot of the indirect weight reduction, I will say a lot of the guys, like for instance, who put the platform or the weight reduction stuff front and center. That would be like, who do we know who made videos about it? EJR made videos about it.
All the stuff that I was going on was way before then.
Well, no, like a lot of
before YouTube got big, dude, you were on forums.
Well, yeah, like the forums, yeah, like, you know, Cycle Bike, all of that stuff, like the forums. Yeah. But I think what I'm saying is, like, I never really got into like the weight reduction portion of it if it was not for the strip. You see what I mean? To me, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, to me, if I got a swing arm or whatever on one of my Busas, it wasn't a weight reduction thing. It was just kind of like, you know, it was more of a traction thing. Yeah. You see what I mean? So yeah. It was more of it wasn't weight reduction. And so all of those guys, like, that put the platform, not just Busas, but in general for roll racing, they kind of put that front and center. And honestly, I can't recall anybody within the last 5 years that really put it on social media other than EJR. I think Evan was the only person that I saw showing to a certain extent the weight reduction stuff.
Yeah, he was the first one that I came across.
Oh, and
when I started trying to look stuff up, I mean, if you're not going to go back to the forums, because all that information, all that knowledge, it's still online. You know, the internet's forever.
Oh yeah. I just remembered his name. The guy that beat 650 Eves H2 Trans Am guy.
Yeah.
He was another guy that I thought he was the one who everybody turned their heads like, oh snap, you know what I mean? Like, you know, the weight reduction and all of this stuff, you know what I mean, to make a street bike work, almost as if it's on the strip, but not really on the strip. But you know what I'm saying,
right?
Like, I think those are the two guys, and you can kind of say 650, but he didn't really focus on weight reduction. It was just kind of like,
here's my wallet.
Yeah. It was kind of like, he was building his channel and that sort of thing. But I don't think it was like showing the actual, like, getting rid of a rotor. And these things for us is normal because 8th mile, quarter, you know, dig racing,
we were doing that years ago. We were doing that years ago.
Air shifters on bikes, you know, it's funny because, like, I remember recently somebody tried to make that a big deal in the road race scene, and it's like, air shifters have been around since the test of time. What do you mean?
Yeah, they've been around, 20 plus years.
Yeah, but okay, that's a big deal in the road scene. So, you gotta, those guys got, and if I miss somebody, it is what it is. But that's about the only two people that I know that kind of showcased making bikes lighter to really compete. Now, obviously, it wasn't Busas; they were 1000s. Which made it worse.
I think the big difference between back in the day and now is because of, like social media, YouTube, the groups, the Facebook groups and stuff now. Whereas you've seen that stuff where, like, Evan and stuff was like broadcasting it. Back in the day, you didn't tell anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you did that stuff, this was like shop secrets.
It was either shop secrets or, like, I remember in the forums, like, you had, you ask a question, they'd be like, okay, shoot me a DM. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now,
there, all that information, there was people that did, like, step-by-step stuff in the forums where if you go look it up, you can still find it where they sit there and weigh every single piece of the bike.
Right.
So you can go find it, but they didn't necessarily tell you how to, like, do it on the bike. You know what I'm saying? Like, what to cut here and there, what bolts to replace, what parts you could make here and there. Like, right. That stuff was always considered, especially when you have, like, the different shops, the different groups that would go to the 8th mile, they would race, they would grudge against each other. You don't want them to know what you did so that you can keep the edge.
Right. Right.
So that was back then. It was the lightening up the bike stuff has always been around, but it
Mhm.
wasn't public knowledge, so to speak.
Right. It's. I'm glad you brought that up though, because I really think though, like if you with my experiences recently, your experiences, if you go back and look at the forums, I gotta give props to like those who lighten their bikes up and do the weight
Yeah,
reduction thing
they
because
pioneered the way.
yeah, because like now it has evolved. Like the stuff that's on the forums, while it make like a lot of this stuff makes sense, I think now that the current generation, if we want to include ourselves as it pertains to modifying the bikes, like the current guys like a Trans Am guy, EJR, PGR, like some of these guys that's out there, Chris
Yeah.
Boomtoom out of Texas, like hell, Chris Moore, hell yourself, all of the nonsense you're doing with your current Busa right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like now that stuff on the forums to me is old and outdated. Not saying that you can't utilize that stuff from the past, but
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly that a bike modified today, same platform with some of the technology and knowledge these guys have now versus that nonsense, not nonsense, but stuff back there, there's no brainer. These guys today will kill that stuff on the forums. Hell, you would kill that stuff on the forums. Look at the stuff that you've done that we're
Yeah.
not showing or talking about. We're not going to disclose while we're talking. Think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of those, well, they weren't into roll racing either. You know, if I was going to go back and do drag racing now, I mean, you got to change so much stuff.
Right. But I think
But there were some guys that really pioneered the way though. I mean, there was some like low.
No. And I'm not taking anything away from them. I'm just saying that right here, right now, if you look at some of the bigger guys in the what I consider the road racing scene right now, the Envies, the Samitis, the Bretts, the U's that just an unorthodox and innovative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if you take those platforms as road racing bikes and just, I don't know, throw up a 75-inch, 80-inch arm on the platform now from road racing, you think them bikes ain't gonna compete?
They'll compete. I mean,
they'll compete. I mean, they not in grudge, but they're gonna compete.
You're gonna need a slider clutch too, though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like to a certain extent, all I'm saying is today's generation, and we were having this conversation earlier. Whereas I went the innovation route with a lot of money involved for my projects, you have done the same thing, but you've done it with money, but less money, and now you're doing. I can't disclose, but you're doing stuff a lot unorthodox and different.
I don't have to. You're doing stuff that I understand you can't talk about. I tell everybody what I've done because it's very simple stuff to me. Some of it's out of the box thinking. You know, if I tell you, I've told a few people now, and they're like, "Wow, I never thought of that. It's actually pretty smart."
Right.
You know, but like, originally, what was it last year? I think it was the beginning of last year. I tried to do an air shifter setup on the bike, and man, it's aggravating. You know, they air shifters have come a long way, but they still have the same problems. You have the air that leaks out. You got to always have a pump with you unless you mount a compressor on the bike. Even then, sometimes the way you have your solenoid mounted, it might not work one time. You got to make sure that little piston's oiled and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I kind of got aggravated with it. So, for the rest of the year, we were just foot shifting it. But when it got down toward the end of the year here, I did some testing here privately, and I bought a Volkswagen door lock. The Volkswagen door lock looks just like the solenoid for an air shifter. Very simple, right? It's one of the stronger door locks. It's got a nice little kick to it, but it's electronic. So I wired it to the horn button and then to the battery. And with the quick shifter, I just push the button and it shifts.
And that makes sense. And I think that alleviates air. You don't need
you don't have the air tank. You don't have the air problems. You don't have the extra hoses and stuff. It's a lighter setup. It doesn't. it doesn't even weigh half a pound, man. The solenoid's so little and just lightweight that, you know what I'm saying? Like you just mount it on there just like the air shifter, but it's lighter. It's not like this. It doesn't have like this heavy piston that's actuated by air. You know, it's just electronic. And then you push the button and it pops the shifter and it works.
So it's not like the Pingle one, right? That's electronic.
No, it's different than that. That one's like, that's like what, $1,200?
It's very expensive. I had a homie that he had that on his 14 and he ended up getting rid of it.
It goes up and down, don't it?
I think his only went up. I'm sure you can monitor. I don't know because I don't have.
This is set up just like an air shifter. So you push the button. I got mine set up in GP, so it pushes the lever down, just pops the next gear. When you make your pass, obviously you're going to have to like move your foot down and upshift to downshift the bike. You can't use the shifter because it's only set up to just
go down, to push, not pull. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I mean, I don't know, like on my drag bike, but
it's a very simple setup and it doesn't add any weight and it makes it to where when you're racing and you're tucked, you can be watching the RPMs and the road and just push the button right here.
Well, I mean, okay, so all right. Okay. I was about to say something else, but okay, damn that thought. Let's talk about this for a second. The air shifter versus foot shifting. I don't know that like so there's two reasons to me why you should have an air shifter in roll racing.
Okay.
Well, racing in general. One, because you're going from a dig, all of that force from a dig. Like obviously, you might not be able to get your feet up. So that's why it was. It's a thing. That's why it was
originally. Yes, the air shifter was designed because you can't get your feet up fast enough. So that's why it was made.
That's the first one. The second one would be in a roll race situation. I feel like outside of like automation, meaning if you're doing whatever your type of racing you're doing and you're doing max or land speed too, because you got to get in a bubble for land speed. But when you're talking about automating something where you don't have to do this, but all you're doing is holding that throttle wide open and you're letting.
They make auto transmissions now.
They make they make auto shifters, they make all of that stuff. So like if you're doing that and you're trying to do everything possible to beat the hell out of people in whatever style of racing you're doing, that makes sense. So like for me,
I can see where you're going with this because you're basically saying like in roll racing, that's not really something that you would need. But with the seating position of where my bike is, the way that I have the chassis now set up, your feet are going to be further back than stock.
Okay.
So for it's the way this all comes in because I'm more of a chassis guy. I'm not really a tuner. I'm not really I can build motors, but you know I don't do a lot of that. But when it comes to the chassis stuff, I really have fun with the chassis. So for me, I kind of needed a shifter because of the way that I'm setting up the seating position and where your feet are going to be. It's a lot more work to keep it a foot shifter than it is to just throw a button on it.
Right. I think so. And that was towards like personally my train of thought, right? So one of my projects initially, it was going to be all quick shifter. And then I got it in my mind, kind of like what you were saying, whereas how is it possible for me to have a quick shifter, just, bare minimum quick shifter, and then throw in the air shifter on top of it, in which the air shifter is only being utilized in a race where I need automation. So like, for instance, if you and I are just racing, I'm racing somebody bullshitting or just having a good old time. But what if like it's a serious race or money's on the line, whatever, not, or I got to utilize jockey? Well, it may be more important for something to just twist the throttle and in all shift points. There's no overshifting. There's nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and that's something that whereas a normal quick shifter can't do that, right? But an air shifter or what you have set up can do that.
Yeah, you can literally. So if I had an aftermarket ECU setup, you could easily plug this in, what I have, into that aftermarket ECU and make it to where it's all automated.
Exactly. And
it wouldn't be hard at all.
Exactly. And I think some of the fastest guys, and I know this is not anything new. You know, a lot of the fastest guys, I'm sure the guys out of Texas, the guys out of Florida, you know, like those are the ones that come to mind currently. But I'm sure a lot of the faster guys that either race for money or are serious about their race program do it, you know, because
Absolutely.
guess what? A lot of this stuff comes from where? The drag strip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
yeah, you get that at the drag strip, and then you can apply. I mean, almost everything that happens in drag racing is directly applicable to roll racing. There's only a few real small differences. And then you can also take the land speed stuff and you can pull it into roll. Roll racing is kind of a mixture of both of those.
It really is. And, you know, it's funny. Some years ago, no disrespect to anybody, but I didn't respect like the whole roll racing thing. I didn't.
None of us did. That's our
I was like, what is that? Like that's golf alpha Yankee. You know what I mean? Like that's nothing.
Yeah, like back in the day when somebody told us that they were roll racing, I would go, like, what is wrong with you, man? That's rolls are for bakeries.
But I will say, like, there's something to be said about it though. Like, one, you don't have to like do all of the work. Like when I go road racing or drag racing, there's a lot of work involved to get to these tracks and a lot of money.
There is.
With road racing, I mean, bro, you can just literally walk out to your bike, take your ass around the corner with your friends, and have a good old time. You know what I mean? Have a great time racing for free, and then take your ass back home.
Yep.
You know, so, and then I was fortunate to go to like some of these recent events that I went to, and I was like, bro, like, there's a level of competition in road racing that, like, I'm like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna build me some projects just for road racing. I got projects just for road, roll, land, whatever, you know?
Right.
So I could see like and I really feel like the way that a lot of the guys that got serious about the road racing stuff, I call them pioneers in the game, because I'm not a pioneer. Right. I mean, you can say that we have all this old knowledge, I guess, but I mean,
if we are pioneers, we're pioneers that nobody ever heard of.
Yeah. Like a lot of the stuff I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, we were doing that years ago, whatever. But
right.
The point is not to sound like some old ass like whatever in the military. It's kind of like, yeah, but you didn't apply that knowledge and know-how until you saw the need to, like now, you know?
Right.
You know, and some of these guys and gals out here already did it. They're already doing it.
That's true.
Which is forcing us to do what? Now we have to evolve with the times. Old timers got to evolve. So, you know, I give mad props. I was looking down upon the road racing thing, and then I did it and had a good time. And I was like, you know what? This is another form of racing to me, and it's cool. You know, I still got a lot of friends that hate it though. That's hardcore.
That just goes with the times. I still have friends that hate it too. In fact, I got friends that even now, if I post anything about my bike at all, they'll message me and they'll go, "When are you going to stop doing that stupid roll racing?" Because they know that I came from drag racing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, bro. They're like, when are you going to bring that thing to the track and actually run some like legit races? And I'm like, I do legit races. And they're like, that shit don't count, you know?
Yeah, but I think about it like, okay, for the average roll race bike, right? To me, like, I think I'm not going to say that they're slow. I'm going to say that it doesn't take, to me, much skill to just hold a throttle wide open and go through gears, right? At least so people say.
So with the way things are evolving now,
but now
you have your average riders that are modifying their bikes. They're getting fast. Those are some fast bikes.
There's some fast stuff out here, yeah.
But they still ride them every day. They'll ride them in group rides. They'll take them up the mountain, even though they're set up for rolls. I mean, you have those, and we'll call those like your casual racers, right?
Right.
But then you can see it happening, especially with all the videos that you and Cartel take and stuff like that. There is a like upper level now that's evolving,
bro.
and it's coming fast.
Hey, you know,
It's coming fast.
so like, I was talking about my friend the other day, bro. I am so happy that I believe in overkill when I'm building something, right? Because it just so happens that some time ago I made it up in my mind that I was going to overkill because I'm heavy. And my whole thing was I wanted to be able to compete with smaller guys. Even on the strip, when I race somebody small, I get my ass whooped.
Yeah.
Road racing, I can out-corner somebody, but in the straights, what they do, they run around me. So I was like, you know what? I gotta do overkill. Well, thankfully, my overkill has me current with the times. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of. I'll tell you, man, bro, like some of these guys and these bikes, man, I'm just like, man.
Yeah, it's a whole new level. So like,
man, it's
I really think that at some point, and it may be underground forever, because that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're doing some very underground shit.
Right.
I mean, there is no such thing as a roll race track. You have airport strips that do like stuff like that, but there's no like real roll race strip.
I mean, they've tried it, but I can tell you,
like the stuff that happened at Bradenton was a year ago. But that's only a quarter mile. We don't have like a half-mile setup roll race drag strip.
I would say, I like, if I had the money and I could build a drag strip that was you know what I mean, where you could switch it up and go all the way out to like the equivalent of a mile or something, because you still need shutdown room.
Yeah.
The problem with something like that is these bikes are so damn fast now that
they are.
And then some could argue and be like, well, you know, some of the Pro Street bikes are doing 220, 230 mile per hour in the quarter, and they have shutdown time. And you're right, but that's going from a dig that's not rolling, you know? So
not only that, but you got to think it's a shorter distance.
It is.
So
and those bikes are cool.
It's a Pro Street bike, right? We get it, right?
Right.
But this is a little different. I mean, you're hitting some of these bikes are doing over 220 and a half.
Bruh, I to this day, when I talk
on
about
a public road,
bro, some of them bikes, bro, they went past me, and you can like you can feel the speed coming off these bikes, bro.
Yeah,
like I've never, bro. I get excited about this because I've been around some fast shit. At least that's what I think, anyways. These guys came past me pulling in their clutch, bro.
You talking about
and it's that I'm like Samedi, Brett. I want to say Arnie did it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Jigsaw fucking boot. Like, these bikes come past you, and you just like, like what? Like what?
Here's what I think is probably the most. Here's like the most fun thing about it.
It's crazy, bro.
So back in the day, when you would go out, like the cars did it, the bikes did it. You know, you'd go out the underground scene, and you're going out and you're finding an empty road, and you're racing and you're having fun. And if the cops come, then you all bounce. You go try to find another race spot, or you do it the next night. That shit really has gone away. A lot of that has died off these days. And I think Street Outlaws on the Discovery Channel, they're kind of what helped kill it, because it really got brought to like national attention that type of stuff was happening. And in the roll racing scene, it's like we found a new way to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, at the rate,
but it's like another level, though. I mean, like you said, I mean, guys coming by over 200 mile an hour on these bikes,
bro. Like, so
it's all underground.
I can say personally, right? So, like, let's say if I look in my garage, right, and I say, okay, let's take. Let me name a bike. Let's take an H2, right? And let's say I feel like my H2 is fast. 300 some horsepower is fast. And every time I feel like I'm doing something, it's people like fucking Super H2 or Manny or one of them motherfuckers that come up. And I'm like, if I'm on the side of the road and their bikes pass by, you're like, what? Like what, bro? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that? You know, I've seen, bro. When I went to Las Vegas, I saw NA bikes beat power adders.
Oh yeah.
Strong power adders.
Oh yeah.
I've seen this dude's ZX10, bro, with Samini on it. And that thing, I'm just like, it runs like it's a built motor bike.
I'm telling you, dude, this it's like another level that's evolving and it's doing
it's fucking crazy. And it's wild because now, people like who we talking about, like these guys are out here doing this stuff and now they're playing with fuels, bro. These boys out here putting fucking M5 and nitro methane and doing all the work. Like, bro, a bike flew past me and it burnt my eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, who, you know what I mean? Like, what the?
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
So getting back to that though, when you look at MV's ZX10, right? And now he just recently got that, him and Rowdy, they got them CBRs.
Yeah.
That bike cheating from factory. No, but it is. It is. Rowdy, like, I gotta give him his props. Like, I personally wouldn't, actually I would if I cared. But if I really wanted a CBR, like, I probably would. But that bike's cheating from factory. So getting back to what we were saying though, how does our Busa compete with a Brett, a Samedi, Envied, a Super H, like, you know what I mean? A fucking EJR Busa. Like, where is that?
Well,
how do we compete with that? A Busa just.
Well, you're gonna have to have. So this is where people that are watching are probably going to disagree with me here, and that's fine. You can agree to disagree. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But when it comes to roll racing, this is where things, in my opinion, they start to change. You can't just do 1600cc stroker motors with Busas. That stuff dominates eighth mile, dominates the quarter mile. It just isn't going to dominate the half mile. It's too much stroke, in my opinion. You got to be able to rev the bike out. I think that a good motor that would compete at the highest level in roll racing when it comes to Busas, we're not talking about any other bike.
Mm-hmm.
Stock stroke, big bore, and a custom set of really high revving cams. I mean, you got to have head work too, but you need to utilize RPM. So there's aero involved in it. There's weight involved in it. These are things we know about.
Man, bro.
Gearing is a big part of it. And when it comes to gearing, RPMs is part of that.
Bro, so essentially what you're saying is a head and cam stock bore Busa with some weight reduction to compete. And if we're using the fastest people that I just named, that I saw.
No, stock stroke, not stock bore.
Stock stroke.
Right.
Stock stroke. So
when you stroke the Busa, you're now limiting the RPM potential that you should be able to do. Now, granted, could you make an all-out race motor that revs really high that's a stroker? Sure, but are you wanting something that's going to live, or are you wanting something you're going to have to rebuild every pass?
I can tell you this. To a certain extent, and we had this conversation previously, I think it might take whoever has money like that to build something that because if you go back, if you said stock stroke, but let's say, I don't know, Evan's a good example because he has a 1441, something like that that's high revving and is moving. He went up against Samedi. I saw it in person. And
I see what you're doing. You're trying to compare something that I said, but I'm not talking about Evan's setup. I'm talking about a completely different set of cams because you're going to have to change the power band.
Well, yeah, but
you need to be able to shift at 13.5.
I mean, can your valve train keep up with that type of RPM? I mean,
It can if it's built right.
I mean, I think
look, this is my own philosophy. I get what you're saying. A 1441 raced them, and it wasn't even a competition. I'm not talking about the same 1441 that we've all been seeing for years. And that's no offense to Evan. Evan, your bike is fast. No offense. But your build is reminiscent of the way they've been building Busas for years.
Hold on. Now, see, since you did that,
I'm talking about the motor.
I know, but since you did that, in his defense, I think he got that built by Newcomb, and Newcomb is like a land speed guy.
Well, then maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm
rest assured, whatever that combo is.
But I've talked to webcams.
Just saying.
I've talked to some engine builders. I came up with a really great cam design. I've won over numbers with this stuff, and at least theoretically, because obviously it hasn't been done yet,
right?
But a big bore stock stroke motor that can take advantage of a high RPM and make good power. I mean, the bike's still got to make power,
right?
I mean, we're not talking about a 240, 250 wheel horsepower bike. Right. We're talking about a almost 300 wheel horsepower bike.
Well, then, how do you think you're gonna need more than some damn cams with a stock crank to accomplish that? I mean, unless you're using some radical ass fuel.
I mean, you go M5.
That's going past you, burning your eyes, bro. Like, unless you're doing something like that.
That's the point I'm trying to make. I mean, you have you go 85. If you're going to do it on a stock block, you go Gen 1 block with an 85 millimeter bore. Preferably, though, go buy yourself a billet block with an 86 millimeter. That way, you got a 1510.
Yeah, but I mean, how would you do that? One, most of the times the billet blocks don't have.
You make sure you get the one that has the cooling passages.
I don't even know if they have that anymore, because when I looked into it, they weren't making it. I think they stopped making it. That's one.
Well, if they stop making it, then your only choice would be to go. You do a 1475. You do an 85 millimeter block, so it would be it'd be a 1475. You got to have the right head porting to match it. You got to have the right cams to match it, and you got to have the right fuel and all that tuning to go with it.
Well, but here's the problem. When you try to make that type of power, 85 millimeter pistons are big and they're heavy. So when you shooting high RPM, how are you going to move that? How are you going to move that? Even with TI rods, like, how are you going to move that? Maybe they're not 3-ring, they're 2-ring pistons. But like that's I have a set. They're heavy. I weigh them.
So they're heavy.
Sitting in my garage. They're heavy. They're big. The things are big. So even with me, when I was going to do the 1635, and I told Evan this, I was told not to do it. You know what I mean? Just because, and then not only that, then the nitrous on top of it. I have an aftermarket block. It's not billet, but but still.
If we start getting into power adders, that changes everything. Because I mean, power adder bikes is that's a whole different ballgame. We're talking about NA.
No. But are we though? Because now these guys are using fuel like it's a power adder.
I mean, I get that, but I'm saying, like, dude, there's turbo Busas that are running like 250 mile an hour and a half mile.
Right.
That's a different ballgame.
No. It is. All I'm saying is, if somehow you can pull out the 300 horsepower.
The dilemma that we're having is not power adder bikes. The dilemma that we're having is, how is our naturally aspirated Busa going to compete with the likes of people like Samiti and others? But how are we going to get around him? And I think I know a way, but it's a little bit out of the box thinking,
bro.
So it ain't going to be a stock bore motor, but it will be a stock stroke motor, in my opinion.
So, I've discussed this. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I spoke to Samiti about this because I remember sitting at dinner and we was talking about it. And we've talked on the phone, like, offline about this stuff, right? Like, To me, I think a Busa can compete, but it has to be somebody to build that caliber Busa to compete with that caliber bike. And right now, I don't know, because Samidi is not just cruising around on that bike. Brett, these guys with these
No,
fast ass bikes, they're not.
That's why I was saying, like this level that we're seeing that's evolving. This is a whole different level of roll racing now. This is like a super competitive. You tow the bike out, you're checking everything. It's almost like a pro mod. You know what I'm saying,
Bro? These
it's
boys.
Like, this is some super high high dollar shit.
Bro, these guys like PGR and even I could say Boomstick, like all these guys. To me, all of these guys are those are grudge bikes, bro. They grudge roll race bikes. Like, like when I walk my ass in the hot ass sun and I'm looking at some of these bikes come off the trailer, and if you don't know what you're looking at, right? Like if you're not like in the bike scene or you don't have any, if you're not mechanically inclined, like you just be like, oh, that's just a nice bike. Oh no, you don't see the loop sensor? That's a ride height. You don't see this stuff. What you need to catch it for? That means that bike is like pushing some real power, right?
Right.
But you don't see the motherfucker just running up and down the street riding it, right? So
no, you don't.
It's a grudge bike. It's a 300-pound grudge bike. And
100%.
The average person, to include myself, because I told you what my original mock-up of my motor and my build was.
Right.
I could have went that route, but then what? Make a pass or two. Maybe I win, maybe I lose. But then what? Then what? I got to pull the motor and get it rebuilt. Like what, bro? Like I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not doing all of that. So, but these guys are willing to do it. So like, it's somebody out there that may have the know-how, the funds, or whatever, whatnot to do that. For us, and for the masses, like they trying to make something that's competitive, and I'll give it that. Like outside of like people like Samidi or Brett or now I think Envied in that stupid CBR, rowdy CBR, like these type of bikes.
CBR. You really hate that bike.
I just hate the bike because it's coming out for something that we want. It's coming out for something, and it's something that we as Busa owners, right? Like that's just an extra platform that you're trying to get around. And oh, by the way, the dude got a couple of Busas, so he knows. Like he's a drag racer too, so like he knows the tricks. He's a good too. He's a stand-up guy, so like he's not slow. Like he knows what it is.
Right.
So us as Busa owners, that's just one extra platform that if you see that dude lining up, you're like, oh, look at this cheating MFer, dog.
Look at this cheating.
Look at this cheating motherfucker, bro. Like, here we go again. Here, look at this cheater, bro. You know what I mean? And then you got now, for instance, like you got people who are tiny building these bikes. NWP Dave, like that dude is like 150 pounds, 170 pounds.
Yeah.
His jockey is like 115. So like when you as a 240, what somehow you get next to him? I don't give a damn if your bike is 300 pounds. You can't compete with that.
Well, that's why I let my son ride it, because there's just some instances that the weight the rider weight plays too much of it into the hand of the race. So
right.
We had fun with what we did last year. We raced a lot of bikes. We did some comparison stuff. It was a fun year. Learned a lot when it comes to the roll racing part of it. But as far as that next level of competition that's evolving, I don't know. Maybe a leader bike will stay on top. Maybe nobody wants to put that kind of money into a Busa. I think it's possible. I just don't know who would do it. I don't even know if I would want to do it.
So I thought about it. My initial response, knee-jerk reaction was, I think we was in the second phases of my motor, right? And the first phase was like a debacle. Like it was just, I said I wanted this. I want this because I want to be able to overkill this. Right. So said builder did that. But he forgot I said street. So tore back down, we went another route. And then
all the stuff you're doing, I don't want to get into that situation where I can't do anything with the bike for like a long time. I mean, I love what you're doing, but I'm just going to keep taking it basically step by step. You know what I'm saying? Like last year, it was taking a bunch of weight off the bike, doing a few old school tricks that I knew from back in the day, and go out and compete with these guys and see how it stacks up. I thought we did very well personally. I mean, we had a lot of races, a lot of stuff that, races that we did weren't even people that, are big in the roll scene. There was some local stuff that we did. We had a lot of fun with it though. I think one of the more fun races we did was a guy that lives about an hour away in it's like going toward Ware Shoals, which is where the local 8th mile is.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a first gen Busa that was it's like a 1547 or something like that. It was a pretty big motor, and it was built by Lee's Performance in Charlotte. But the bike was still heavy. Like he had done no weight reduction, so it still weighed every bit of probably 530 to 540. It had to run 2 batteries to start the damn motor. Awesome bike. But that was a cool comparison for us because, we were on a stock motor with just, the bolt-ons, very lightweight, and he's a built motor, and he's on has done no weight reduction, and that was a fun race for us to do. When we first lined up, no idea what's going to happen. We're just guessing games. When we both hit the throttle, my son hit the throttle. He just run off and left him. So we ended up having to give him a really big hit to make it a close race. But that was very telling because, there was a big question of what's going to make a bike faster, especially like when it comes to this roll racing stuff. Is it going to be weight or is power? Don't do both. Choose one. And the answer was weight. Weight made a bigger difference.
While I agree with that, like, I feel like there's a point where you, like Tristan, right? He had that lightweight ZX10. I feel like.
Well, I didn't take mine that far.
But there's a certain point where
that was really, really light.
yeah. There's a certain point where it's just like, well, you can't put any power to the ground because it's too light.
Right.
Now as heavier guys,
I wasn't going that far. I mean, I got the bike down to 395. I thought that was a good weight to be at for last year. At 395, we had the bike dead hooking. I mean, we had no problems.
And now, though, you're trying to snatch an additional, like, 50 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever it is, off the bike.
It's under 350. It's 348 now. And I did have to make changes to it. So, like, last year at 395, even with my son riding, and he was 165 to 170, I still could use the stock Busa shock and spring. Had no issues. Well, there was some issues here and there, depending on the road we were on, but we could always tune the suspension and get it to hook. We never had to cut throttle, not one time. We always ran it wide open on the hit. I mean, it never had to program the ECU to cut the throttle back at all. And that's why the bike whole shot so well. In fact, that last race of the year, which was me riding, I think I seen some people commenting because I got sent screenshots, but I seen some people commenting trying to say when I raced that white bike, there was an EJR bike, they were saying that he gave me the hit or I stole the hit. And that's not true. We actually hit it at the same time, just my bike left tremendously harder than his did, and it took him 3 years to come around me. I have the footage. I can literally go back and show it. You can see both front ends rise at the same time. So I didn't steal the hit. He didn't give me the hit. I literally laid it out to him because he came down here to our road where we test. And I said, when you come over the top of the hill and you start to come down the hill a little bit, there's a stop sign that's for the crossroad. As soon as we pass that stop sign, hit it. And we hit it at the same time.
Well, I guess with that being said, I hate to do this to you because I'm going to put you on the spot.
What?
It's 2025. All right. Who you targeted?
I'm not targeting anybody. No. So My build for this year was just to be more competitive. So I wanted to leave it a bone stock motor because I was staying faithful. Like I had that faith that there's going to be a stock motor class. That was what I wanted to do. The problem with that is that it keeps not happening. You know, like the Two Wheels hosting those tournaments. I'd really like to go compete in one, but why am I going to take a stock motor? Because you went to them. How many stock motors made it anywhere near the end?
If it was a separate class, right?
If it was a separate class, it would be a very competitive, fun class to race in.
The problem with the stock motor stuff, and I've had this conversation, people just
lie. So I was staying for most of last year. I kept trying to believe that we were going to get one, and that people wouldn't lie about it. But you're 100%. But you're 100% right. The problem with a stock motor class is that everybody lies about it. There's ways around everything. There's ways to cheat. It's on a bike. It's really just too easy to cheat.
So like you would have to have someone like
there's some motors that you would have to tear down to know there's anything done to it.
That's what I'm saying. Like you would have to have like some
right.
And nobody's willing. If you got a class of 18 bikes, you're not about to,
right?
You know what I mean? Like that's.
But see, I was wanting. That was what I was wanting to do. I thought that would be the most competitive racing, because then you don't. It's not about who has this motor that makes this power. It's all about lightweight chassis tuning. You know what I'm saying? And then engine tuning, and that's it. And then rider. I mean, you take the power aspect of it pretty much off the table, you know? So, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I don't think there's ever going to be a stock motor class, not competitively. You know, people may throw like a little small thing here and there. If you know that these guys are for sure on a stock motor, then you could do like a limited, invite deal. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But you know, so many people lie about it. I mean, there's people that got accused of having, Two Wheel got accused of having a built motor for so long. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So instead of doing that, because it's not going to happen, so I decided, what can I do to improve the bike to make it faster? Because obviously, if I show up to one of these tournaments, if somebody like Samidi's there, we pretty much know who's going to win, right? I mean, no. That bike's on another level.
No. So like, I gotta give him his props. Like he's not one of those guys that would enter his bike into any stock motor or anything. You know?
No, I'm not talking about stock motor. I'm just talking about going to one of these tournaments. It's a
the whole.
Yeah. Because the stock motor stuff, it's just not. In my opinion, I don't think it's going to happen,
bro.
So you go to one of these tournaments, you see the lineup. You know, you got EJR's bikes over here. You got Samidi's bikes over here. You got this, you got that. Well, what can I do to be competitive? At least if I know I'm not going to win, what could I do to be competitive and actually go a few rounds? So that's the approach that I took to the bike for going into this year.
Okay, because
instead of just calling somebody out, you know what I'm saying? Because apparently we have a bunch of crybaby bitches that get really emotional about stuff, and they take it to a level that it doesn't really need to go to. Instead of, because I know that's what you wanted me to do, and I'm not going to.
No. I just thought you had someone in mind. That's all.
No, I have nobody in mind. Literally, I was looking at how the tournaments went, and I was like, what can I do to make this bike be a real competitive bike to go more than just one? Get in the first round and get out. You know what I'm saying? I don't want the bike to be a first round duck, basically.
Bro, you asked me the same question. Hell, I'll answer. Dude, I'll answer it quick. I don't care.
So
will he? You know what I'm saying? Hey, I would target him. I would target Envy. I don't care. Like I don't care, bro. I'll race Samidi. I don't care. Like shit, Evan. I don't care, bro. I'll race the world. I'll call him out. Bro,
well, I don't have anybody. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody that I'm targeting.
You looking at me? I don't like the way you looked into the camera. You too. Like I don't care. To me, I don't cartel. You know what I mean? Like I don't care, bro. Like I just love racing.
Well,
You know, so
well, I do have somebody. I didn't target them; they targeted me. But there's this Jeff Thompson guy. I don't really know him. I don't know if
name sounds
anybody knows
familiar.
of him. I know he likes to post in EJR. I wasn't going to say anything about him because it gives him, 5 minutes of fame. But he's some guy that's like in Virginia or Kentucky or I don't fucking know, somewhere. But anyways, he's been talking to the guy that's porting my head right now. I'm getting the head ported, and and shout out to Mike Manello with MR Performance Cycles. He's porting the head. He's doing a hell of a job, and he's got some good price, and he knows what he's doing. This isn't just some idiot that's hogging a head out. He actually knows what he's doing. I've talked a lot to him about the process he's going through and what he's actually doing to my head. So he's another option for if you're wanting to get a head ported. It's really good.
So does he? It looks like he has is either S1000 or Gixxer 1000.
He's got 3 bikes. He's got an S1000, a Gixxer 1000, and a ZX10.
Okay, older Gen 4 looking ZX10.
I don't know. I don't really pay no attention to him, dude. I just know that he's been talking with Mike that's porting my head, and he wants to race. He wants to race the beater, but Mike said that he was going to jockey my bike, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, go jockey it. I guess I don't care." And supposedly they're going to race for like $2,000. So
okay, yeah. I just looked
Jeff's fastest bike versus the beater with Mike jockeying it. I don't know. I don't care.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like,
I'm not worried. Well, I'm not worried about Jeff. If that do I need to make that a statement? I'm not worried about you, Jeff. You're going to lose.
Okay. Well, yeah, he said it. I ain't say it.
I ain't worried about. I'm not worried about Jeff.
Well, damn that. Jeff can get it too. I tell you, I want to race everybody. But that's probably because nothing that I have works. So it's like I can say whatever I want,
Yeah. But as far as like who am I specifically targeting? I'm not targeting anybody, man. I was looking, like I said, I was looking at it and I was like, what can I do to make this compete in these tournaments? Because these tournaments, stock bikes are going out first round. Unless it's a stock bike versus a stock bike, then it just so happens a stock bike gets to make it to the next round, but just to get beat by something ridiculous. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So what can I do to like go a few rounds, make some noise, have fun, and then, maybe if there's like some grudge stuff lined up after the tournament, we could get involved in some of that stuff too, So
yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna take some more weight off the bike, and in doing that, the suspension's definitely going to have to change. So I changed up the rear suspension, and it's an 08 ZX10 rear suspension. So it's just a better than what the stock one is. People can disagree with me, but it works. And
yeah. Because you posted about that recently, right?
Yeah,
Ed Johnston was commenting on it, right?
Yeah, it's 2.5 pounds lighter. People have done that for years. It's not like some new thing that I just came up with. It's old ideas, Right. Like people have ran 08 ZX10 rear shock and spring on Busas way back in the day. So
right.
If you're an old school Busa guy, that was a trick that we used to do.
Right.
So that, and then I had to get the body right. Like, fair enough, the bike was ugly. That's why I called it the BeaterBusa, because it was beat up looking. You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of an eyesore. And then when people did lose to it, they got really pissed off for losing to it because it does look like a pile of junk. So, fairings make a bike look good. Plain and simple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My fairings were busted up and shit, and I just didn't care. So
yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm going to put some good fairings on it, but I want to make sure that it's also improving the aero of the bike. So maybe it helps pick up the top end. So I did, that's the front end right there. It's a full one piece. I called up Prolific Motorsports, got it, and then I took it to a buddy of mine who painted it. I thought he did a phenomenal job painting it, because I told him, I said, the bike is the BeaterBusa. It's always going to be the BeaterBusa. So it needs to have like a beater theme to it. Mm-hmm. So I thought he did a really good job making sure that, it's got like a rustic look to it and stuff like that. He spent a lot of time trying to make sure that it looked like that old patina style paint job.
Yeah.
And then he threw the bomb on the side because I did name the bike after my buddy Joey Heichel from Nebraska. That's got the Beater Bomb Mustang. So
Mm.
anyways, so got the one piece. Called up Tiger Racing. They got that LSR fender that's been 311 mile an hour. It holds like a record. So I ordered their fender. He painted it too. So I got a much better, lighter fairing setup. It looks pretty now. Still looks like Beater, but it looks good.
Right. Right.
And it's more aerodynamic with the LSR fender and all. I did something different with the tail of the bike as well. This year, there won't be a tail on the bike. So it's going to have, a custom seat frame where I'm sitting on it. And then I do still have the wheel disc, but I also did the only piece of carbon on the entire bike is a carbon rear tire hugger.
Okay.
So, and people are going to say, well, you just killed the aero of that bike. Well, I 100% disagree with you because the wind tunnel says different.
Okay. Well, like I said at the beginning of this, unorthodox. So
it is very unorthodox. Yeah. I basically took what I did last year that was very unorthodox, and I went a little bit more orthodox, but then threw in a big unorthodox measure.
Man, when you sent me that picture, bro, I immediately started asking you questions like, "Hey, man,
yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
What is this? What's that?
What's this? What's that? Why is that missing? What are you doing, bro?" Like, yeah. So I guess we have that in 2025 to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you coming on because I had to drag you on here.
Yeah, you've been asking me a lot, man, and I'm sorry about that. I don't want to talk about it too much, but there was a little bit of drama there at the end of the year, and it just kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, and I wasn't sure that doing a video was really worth anything. So,
right.
But it was a good talk, man. I really enjoyed it.
Well, good. And I know this isn't live, so all we can do is just say, whoever's out there watching, hey, just keep your eyes peeled for 2025 BeaterBusa.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun bike. It'll be competitive. I think people got shocked last year, and I think they'll probably be a little bit more shocked this year because it is going to be faster. It's going to be quite a bit faster.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm going to use this as an opportunity to threaten more people. Super H2 Mustang Dame. Who else is there? I don't like their attitudes. Manny, I don't like the way you look either. Who else, Beater?
You are hilarious.
I'm just because I don't, boosted catfish. I like you got the turbo bike. Okay, I got some for that too. You know what I mean? I'm not going to threaten Chris Boomstoon because he do too much.
Yeah,
he does way too much. So I'll leave him alone.
Let's keep it real though. So if you see me out, if we come out to an event or something that somebody's having, we are not hard to get along with. We're actually very easy to get along with. And when I say we, I'm talking about me and my kids because I do this with my kids. So we're very easy to get along with. If we beat you, then, yay, I guess, you don't be so upset that you lost to the BeaterBusa or whatever. But if we lose and the people that, that we did take that loss last year when I rode the bike of all people, I rode it. My son had been in a car wreck the night before and he couldn't ride it. So I said, fuck it, I'll ride it. I shook the guy's hand. I told him, I said, damn, it's a little bit faster than I thought it was going to be, and, that kind of made me go back to the drawing table and redo a few things here and there. And that's why I've modded the bike more and kind of got it ready for this year. I don't know who owns that bike. So here we go. Here's your call out. You wanted. If whoever owns the second gen Busa that has the white fairing, third gen fairings on it, if they want, it's a different person that owns it now. But if they would like to give my bike a rematch, then yeah, we would be down.
Oh, I think I met him down at the Two Wheel Monster event.
I don't know who owns it now, and I mean he can put a jockey on it, whatever. But yeah, we'd like to see a rematch, sure. But if not, that's okay too.
Well, I don't know. Perhaps we can all put our heavyweight minds together and do a heavyweight event class, whatever. You know what I mean? I think that would
We can
be.
do that too, you know. I mean, if he wants to ride it and I ride it, then that's fine too.
I think that would be cool. But definitely, whoever I forgot. I think I met him down at the Two Wheel. It's the one with the 3/4, right? It's like the Gen 3 bodywork, but it's 3/4.
Gen 3 3/4 front with the 1000.
Just the 1000 tail, right? Yeah. I forget his name, but yeah.
I don't know who owns it now.
Unless he sold it to somebody else, that bike is moving. So I don't.
Yeah, it moves pretty good. It moves pretty good.
You know.
So I mean, he beat me last year, which I mean, let's be real about it. It was kind of expected, you know. I mean, you got a lightweight bike, you got a lightweight bike, you got a stock motor bike, you got a 1441 bike. I mean, come on now.
Right, right. Well, you know, you will say that you're going to be climbing an uphill battle because you trying to race these 1441s and above. I mean, that's self-inflicted. You should know better.
It'll be the 1441 this year.
Oh.
And it's not a 1441. It's still a 1340. It's a stock bottom end. And it doesn't have cams, stock cams. It's a headwork bike. That's it.
So you don't. Okay, we're not going to get into that.
It'll be the 1441 bike.
It's going to beat one, huh?
It's going to be one. I don't know which one, but it's going to be one.
Okay. Well, you know what? All you 1441s out there, BeaterBusa says one of y'all is going down.
Yeah, somebody's going down, damn it.
One of y'all ass is about to be kicked. He don't know which one, though.
Yeah. All right, buddy.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on, bro. And for everybody who's watching, we'll try to do a recap at some point when this bike is done, and we'll go live. So you can ask some questions after this first event.
Oh, God. All right. I like how you didn't ask me for that. You just threw it out there.
Yeah, I got to throw it out there, bro, because everybody might want to see how you're doing. Anyway, everybody, peace out. Thanks for watching.